Hey guys, it's Melanie. Welcome to my channel. Today starts my January 2021 wrap-up vlog, so stay tuned. So it is January 2nd and already I have completed 2 books. So on the 1st, I completed Green Lights by Matthew McConaughey. I was listening to the audiobook of this with my mom and we were kind of video chatting to listen to it together, but it was fabulous. Like, oh my gosh, it's so good. And the audiobook is narrated by Matthew McConaughey himself, and he has led just such an interesting life, and I really enjoyed how he told his story. This is a memoir, a little bit of an autobiography, but also he calls it Green Lights because he talks about how to find those green lights in life, and how he found these green lights in life, and how to turn yellow lights and red lights into green lights in your life. And his story was just so incredibly interesting, and I gave it 5 stars. So I get to start the year off with a 5-star read, and I'm very, very happy about that. And then today I finished Dreamfall by Amy Plum, and I give this 4 stars. So this definitely gives me like Nightmare on Elm Street vibes, like for real. So you have like this group of, I think it's 7 kids, and they all have some kind of different sleeping disorder. Some are caused by traumatic events, others are genetics, they all have their own issues. And it's so severe that they have been selected to be part of this experimental program. And it's only been done on 1 other subject, and it did work. And now they're doing it on 7 new subjects. And they put them in like a sleep state. And with electrical impulses, they use it to regulate them between REM sleep and deep sleep. But shortly after this experiment begins, there is an earthquake, and it kind of sets everything in a mess. And the doctors and scientists, they unfortunately believe that all of these children are now comatose, and they're just trying to keep them alive at this point. Except for there is one person here. He is a pre-med student. He's there for a research assignment, and he's just meant to be observing, and he happens to notice something that the doctors and scientists don't notice. And when he tries to point it out, nobody really takes him seriously. But he believes that instead of being in a coma, they are actually in a dream state, and he's noticing this pattern where it looks like they're going in and out of a REM sleep to a deep sleep, but their brain waves are not the right kind of brain waves for being in sleep. They're like coma brain waves. So that's why nobody's really taking him seriously, plus they're scientists and doctors, and he's just a student. And this goes back and forth between his perspective and what's going on like with the doctors and scientists and with the experiment, and also looking over these kids' files to the perspective of the kids that are in the trial. So when the earthquake happens and all of this craziness ensues, somehow they are trapped in this nightmare sequence where they are going in and out of like REM sleep and deep sleep. And when they're in the deep sleep, they're in this black void, and they're all together. It's like a collective dream. They're all able to speak to each other and interact. When they go into the REM sleep, however, they go from this black void to one of their nightmares. And they all are inside of one person's nightmares, and you never know whose nightmare or which nightmare it's going to be. And you're learning about these different characters through their nightmares, and through how they're dealing with these nightmares, and how they're interacting with people, and also with the pre-med student reading their files. And it's really interesting, and I'm really enjoying it, and I really enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to reading the next one, which I believe is called Never Wake. So 4 stars. It is Sunday, January 3rd, and I've completed one more book. I finished The Ice Queen by Alice Hoffman. I give this 4 stars. It was weird. It was tragic. It made me cry, but it was interesting. It held my attention. And this is not a book that's going to end in all happy endings. It just doesn't. It's kind of sad throughout, and it continues to get sadder and sadder and sadder throughout the book, and trigger warnings for suicide. Yeah, it is a tragic, grim fairy tale kind of book. And our main character, she's a librarian, but when she was 8 years old, she made a wish one night when she was upset with her mom that her mom would never return, and then her mom got in a car accident and died that night. And she blamed herself, but she never told anybody about her wish, and she just kind of held this all in and became this ice queen that she made a fairy tale about in her head, that could no longer feel anything and kind of became invisible. And she was still like the dutiful daughter, the dutiful co-worker, or not the dutiful daughter, the dutiful granddaughter, because she was then raised by her grandmother, the dutiful sister, the dutiful co-worker, the dutiful student, the dutiful friend. But she never connected with anybody really, and never let anybody in, and never really wanted to feel anything for anyone or anything, and didn't, except for maybe her grandmother. And eventually her grandmother got old, she got ill, she's on her deathbed, and our main character, she makes the wish that the world would just release her grandmother from the pain that she's in, and her grandmother dies that night. So she believes she's got like this death wish kind of thing, and she's believes that anybody that cares for her is gonna end up dying because of her making some stupid wish. And she becomes very depressed. Her brother comes from Florida and takes her and brings her down to Florida, and on the way they're talking about lightning and all of this stuff, and she says she makes this wish that lightning would strike her, and she believes it's another one of those wishes that's going to be a death wish, and that's kind of what she wants. However, lightning does strike her, and it doesn't work out the way she wants. She's instead severely injured and has a lot of issues, and ends up in this study in this support group. She learns about another man they call Lazarus, who was struck by lightning and died and woke up 40 minutes later. And she relates him to this grim fairy tale about this boy who wasn't afraid of death, and she's like, this is the person that I need to be with, and gets involved with him. And it gets really weird with all of that, because he's like, he practically breathes fire. He burns her to the touch. Like when he puts his hand on her arm, she gets blisters and stuff from the heat that he's radiating. And yet they still find ways to have sexy times, and she has to like insert ice cubes afterwards. But if you think all of this is sad, it gets even sadder and sadder and sadder throughout. And it is just like any grim fairy tale where it's not going to have a all happy ending. I guess you could say there's a moral to this story. Be careful what you wish for, because you just might get it. And also to be happy with what you have while you have it, because you never know when it's going to be gone. So it is Friday, January 8th, and I completed 2 more books. So first off, on Monday the 4th, I completed The Passengers by John Mars, and I gave this 5 stars. It's really, really good. I highly recommend the audiobook of this, because at the beginning of each chapter, there are different things like news reports, articles, maybe here's something from like an encyclopedia like wiki whatever. There's also like Twitter feeds and playlists and just all kinds of things throughout this, and I really liked it in the audiobook form. And this is about, well, it's set in the UK, where it's in the not too distant future, where all of the cars are, well, most of the cars anyway, are completely automatic, run by AIs. There's no manual overrides. You just get in and put in your destination and the car takes you. And the government is working on making it mandatory that that is the norm car. You can't have any kind of manual car within the next decade. And some people don't really like that idea. One of our main characters, she's part of this jury, like she's having to go to sort of a jury duty type thing, because when there is an accident involving one of these AI cars and like a bicyclist or a pedestrian or something, they have to go and have like a little trial to determine if it was the computer's fault, the car's fault, or if it was the person's fault. And it's usually deemed to be the person's fault somehow. And our main character, she's part of this jury, and she doesn't like the AI cars. She doesn't like not having that control. And in the midst of this jury session, news breaks out that there have been 8 different cars that have been kind of hijacked. They've been hacked, and some of them were hacked purposely, others were just random people that happened to get into an AI cab and found themselves locked in with their destinations changed to somewhere that's like 2.5 hours away. They're not able to get out, they're not able to make any phone calls or anything, their signals jammed, all of that stuff. They're trapped in this car, headed to this unknown destination, and they are told that at that time they very well may die. And then this becomes almost like a reality TV show type thing, where it's streamed like all over all of the news, all over all social medias, and people are essentially voting on who they want to die, because the hacker group that's doing all of this is making people decide who's going to die next. And this jury group ends up playing a big part in making that decision. And this was really, really good. There's lots of twists and turns, and it was a lot of fun, and I give it 5 stars. And then yesterday I finished 3 Dark Crowns by Kendar Blake, and I want to give this 3.75 stars. This was really entertaining. I enjoyed it. It follows 3 sisters. They're triplets, and they're born into this world onto this island called Finburn. And here it's believed that they are these 3 queens, but there can only be 1 queen. So when they're 6 years old, they're all split up. One of them is supposedly a poisoner, one of them is supposedly a naturalist, and one of them is an elementalist, and they go to live with the people that have their skills. And when they're 16, they're supposed to have like fully grown into their abilities and all of that, and their gifts. And at this annual thing called the Beltane, they present their skills, their abilities, and from that point forward until the next Beltane, they have 1 year to try to kill each other. And there can only be 1 queen, so they're supposed to, over this next year, use their abilities to kill the other, so that there's only 1 left. Now, our poisoner, she is very sickly, very she does not look very healthy at all, because she's been poisoned her whole life trying to prepare her for this ability and everything. And well, her poisoning is weak, and she can't really handle it very well, and so she's like constantly sick. And then our naturalist, she's supposed to be able to like grow plants and control animals and things like that, and her ability is also really, really weak, and she ends up using like low magic, like blood magic, to try to fake having abilities. And then our elementalist, Mirabella, she is the most beautiful and has all of this ability, and she can control the storms and the wind and the rain and the and fire and all of this. And everybody believes that Mirabella is going to be the next queen, and that she'll be able to take out the other two easily. But the thing is, Mirabella, she really doesn't want to kill her sisters. And her other two sisters, they're like, they're just trying to figure out how to survive. And yeah, this was entertaining. I enjoyed it. I will say that it does take a lot of concentration, because there's a lot of back and forth and stuff, and it can kind of be a little complicated to follow along. But I am enjoying this series, and I will be continuing. So it is Sunday, January 10th, and I've completed 3 more books. So yesterday I completed Siege and Storm by Leigh Bardugo. This is the 2nd book in the Grishaverse trilogy, and I give this 4 stars. I gave Shadow and Bone 5 stars. I really, really enjoyed it, and I still enjoyed this, but it felt like a middle book. It's kind of hard to explain. It wasn't quite as good as the first one, but I still enjoyed it. I expect the next one to be really, really good. And that's really all I can tell you. I can tell you about the first book, which is called Shadow and Bone. Alina Starkov, an orphan, a cartographer in the First Army. She discovers that she has a special ability and that she is a Grisha, and she's whisked off to the palace to be trained by the Darkling to join the Second Army, which is the Grisha army, and she's brought there to learn how to use her abilities and what exactly her abilities are. And she's not a normal Grisha, she's still something special, of course. And this was really just continuing the story and a second amplifier. I can say that, I think. Anyway, 4 stars. And then also yesterday I completed the 2nd book in the Oz series, The Marvelous Land of Oz by L. Frank Baum. And if you know The Wizard of Oz, at the end of The Wizard of Oz, when the wizard is leaving, he appoints the Scarecrow, the King of Oz. The Tin Man is the ruler of the Winkies, and then the Lion is like the king of the jungle. And in this book there is an all-girls revolt that takes place. They storm the castle, and General Ginger, she wants to take over Oz and the Emerald City, and she wants to be queen. And they kind of kick out the Scarecrow and him with some people that have already come and visited with the Scarecrow. They seek out Glinda for some assistance, and Glinda helps them with finding the rightful heir to the throne of Oz, and that is Ozma. And I can say most of the people in my buddy read group, I don't think are enjoying this quite as much as I am, but they haven't read the Dorothy Must Die series by Danielle Page, and I think that that is playing a big part in my enjoyment of continuing the series, because I'm loving seeing like where Danielle Page got all her inspiration for the different things in her story. And to me this was a lot of fun, and I did get tickled by certain things, like there is this thoroughly educated bug, and he is quite funny, and I really enjoyed him. And I'm going to give this 4 stars. And then today I finished Alicia in Atlantis, The Forbidden Vial by Nathalie Lane. And this is a book that's coming out March 1st of 2021. And I was kindly sent to this by the author. And this is really good. If you are fans of like Keeper of the Lost Cities, I think you're really going to enjoy this. I think this is the author's first book, and it's really, really good. It has those Keeper of the Lost City vibes. We have Alicia, who is from Scotland, and essentially she's an orphan. She's been raised by her stepfather because her father passed away when she was either a baby or before she was born, and then her mother passed away when she was still little, and so she was raised by her stepdad, and he's now got a job abroad, and she takes this opportunity to enroll in a boarding school in Scotland that's close to the village where her mother's from, or supposedly from, and she wants to learn more about her family while she's there. But her very first day at this boarding school, she is overwhelmed by all of the people, because Alicia is an empath, but she's like overly empathetic, and she's overwhelmed by all of the feelings and stuff from everybody there. And right off the bat, somebody gets bullied, and she's overwhelmed by like the humiliation and everything, and she's forced to react to this, and she gets really upset, and she stands up for the person. But she has seen this in her past as, oh, she is showing that she's a freak, and she's a drama queen, and nobody's gonna like her, and she's just a mess. And so she runs off and takes a bus to this village where her mom's supposed to be from. And while she's there, she sees a sailboat. She's checking it out because her mom had two accidents sailing. The first one blinded her, and then the second one is what killed her. And so she's checking out this sailboat when she hears a siren song, and next thing she knows, she is on her way to Atlantis, where she finds out that one of her ancestors, at least one of her ancestors, has come from Atlantis, and this is why she's able to hear the song and she's able to go there. And there is some queer rep in here as well, because the couple that she is that are guardians for her is a male couple, and Wimmy is like, he's just this burly little marshmallow, and I love him. But they take her in and get her enrolled in this school down there, and she very quickly ends up making friends, and she's told that her empath abilities are because she's from this place, and is taught kind of how to control that. But she quickly discovers that her father, at least, is from Atlantis, and she's trying to find out more information about him. But the emperor of this place is, well, he kind of took Atlantis from the king and the ruling family because he has this really strong power, and so he pretty much just wiped out everybody that opposed him and took over. And one of his many rules was that it was illegal to ask about any missing people, and essentially that is what her dad is, and nobody is willing to share any information. This emperor also is very specious and has the entire place very segregated, and the more human the species is, the higher class they are, and the less human they are, the lower class. The less places they're allowed to go, the less jobs they're allowed to have, things like that. And there are definitely a lot of secrets involved here. There's a lot of vice for power, and Alicia kind of uncovers some of these secrets that she's not supposed to have uncovered. And this was a lot of fun, and I can't wait to read more from this author. So I give this 4 stars. Saturday, January 16th. So the last time I finished a book, I actually forgot to tell you anything about it, so I'm going to tell you about it now because I finished another book. So I have completed 2 more since the last time I've checked in. So on the 13th, I finished One Dark Throne by Kendar Blake. This is the second book in the 3 Dark Crowns series, and because it's a sequel, I can't really tell you too much about it, but I can say, without really spoiling anything, that one of the sisters is crowned in this. That's really all I can say. I enjoyed it. I give it 3.75. And then yesterday I finished The Darkest Minds by Alexandra Bracken, and this is a reread for me. I really, really enjoyed it. It was 5 stars for me. It follows, okay, so we have this dystopian world where there's some kind of illness that is affecting kids between the ages of like 10 to 13. Apparently it's like brought on by puberty or whatever. So 10 to 13, it's affecting these kids. Most of the children of the world in this age range die, just like straight up, like have a seizure or something, then they die. And then the others that don't die, they're kind of transformed. They end up having some kind of special ability, whether it be being really good with like numbers and sorting and like hacking and things like that, or moving things with their minds, or being able to control people with their minds and things like that. And these kids are pretty much round up and put in these camps, almost like internment camp kind of things, and they're experimented on and all kinds of stuff. And our main character, Ruby, she's brought into one of these camps at 10 years old, and she is one of the more dangerous types. She is an orange. They're categorized by their ability into what color they are, and reds are like the most dangerous. I think they can like control fire or something like that. And then oranges are like the next dangerous because they are the ones that can like control minds. And Ruby, she is not like pre-organized, and when she gets to the camp, she convinces them, like she gets in the doctor's head and tells him that she is green, and which is like a numbers and sorter, like mathy kind of one. And so she manages to spend her time in this camp as a green, and is kind of safe from what happens with all of the oranges and reds that are like taken away and experimented on and just disappear and are believed to be dead. And one day, with the help of this league, I forget what it's called exactly, like the League for Children something, with the help of this league, she is able to get out of this camp, and she connects with other kids that are also on the run, and they're trying to find this like safe haven called East River, where there's this kid called, they just call him the Slip Kid, because apparently he like broke out of his camp, and he's created this camp where the kids are safe to go to and can help them like get home, and can help them like contact parents and things like that if they want to, or they can just have a safe place to be. And so Ruby and this group of kids that she ends up connecting with, that is their goal and what they're trying to get to. And there's so much more than that in this as well, and I just loved it. And I ended up crying in the live show just a little bit at the very end. I was just like, oh. But yeah, 5 stars. It is Sunday, January 17th, and I have completed 2 more books. So yesterday I completed Never Fade by Alexandra Bracken. This is the 2nd book in the Darkest Minds series, and I give this one 4 stars. Really enjoyed it. Not much I can say about it because it is the 2nd one, but there was a lot in this, and I'm really looking forward to reading the next one. And then today I finished my reread of A Heart So Fierce and Broken by Bridget Kimmerer. This is the 2nd in the Curse Breakers series. The first book is A Curse So Dark and Lonely, and A Curse So Dark and Lonely is 5 stars. This one's even better. I would give this one 6 stars if I could. But oh my goodness, this one is, I can tell you a little bit about it, because in the first book, the commander, Gray, the one that goes back and gets Harper and brings her to Rim. Well, this story follows him and what's going on with him after that first book. And so I can say that without spoiling anything. And I I absolutely love Gray so much. He is my book boyfriend. Yeah, love him. And I love Liamara, who is the daughter of the queen from an opposing country, though she's not the daughter that's going to inherit the crown. She is the other daughter, and I love her. So it is Monday, January 25th, and I have completed 5 more books. It's been a minute since I've checked in with you, so I need to fill you in on what I have done. I was vlogging throughout all this week. All the 5 books that I'm mentioning now were part of that vlog, so I'll link that up here if you want to see my reading week that week. Anyway, the first book I completed was The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. I don't feel like I need to tell people about this book just because I feel like everybody already knows. But I guess I will just in case. You can always skip past it. This is set in a world where there are 12 different districts, and each district has its own skill set or whatever, and some districts are better off than others. The districts 1 and 2 and 3 are a lot better off than districts 11 and 12, for example. And every year they have this thing called the Hunger Games, where it's sort of it started because there were 13 districts, and the 13th district rebelled against the capital city, and then the 13th district was wiped out. And so every year since then they've had these Hunger Games where they take one boy and one girl from each district, and they go and compete in these Hunger Games to the death until only one person is remaining. Now that one person that's remaining, their district gets gifts of food and all kinds of stuff, and the winner actually gets their own house, and they're wealthy beyond compare. This year, Katniss Everdeen, her sister Prim, gets chosen, and it's Prim's first time being entered into the Hunger Games, and so Katniss doesn't want this for her, so she volunteers in her place, and this is just her dealing with the Hunger Games. So I really enjoyed this. I gave it 4 stars. This was a reread for me. And then I read Catching Fire by Suzanne Collins. I can't remember if I actually read this one. I think I did, or if I had just watched the movie a while back. But I enjoyed both of these. I give them both 4 stars. And I hope to continue with the series in the future, or preferably soon. Next, I finished Queens of Finburn by Kendar Blake. This is a novella for the Three Dark Crowns series. This has 2 stories in it. We have the Young Queens and the Oracle Queen. The Young Queens follow the 3 sisters when they were younger, when they were all in the Black Cottage together, and them getting split apart at 6 years old, and then them kind of trying to find their place in their new section of the kingdom, and with their foster families and all of that, and dealing with being separated from each other. And I enjoyed that story. Also, there was the Oracle Queen, which is they make reference in the other books about the queen that went mad, and this is about her. And there's something I always want to say when I talk about this, but I can't because it would be a spoiler. But I really enjoyed the Oracle Queen story, and I definitely want more of her and this story. But I don't know if I'll get that in the rest of the series. We'll see. And I'm going to give this 3.5 stars. And then I read A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab, and I give this 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. We follow mostly one main character, and this is Kel. He's an Antari, and he can travel between the different Londons. There's multiple Londons kind of overlaying each other, and he travels between them to deliver letters for the royalty. but he's also a bit of a smuggler, and he finds himself smuggling something that he shouldn't, and it gets him in a lot of trouble. And then he runs into Delilah Bard, who, she is a cutthroat and a thief, and she pickpockets him and ends up pickpocketing the thing that he smuggled that he really shouldn't have. And in order to give it back, she pretty much demands that he take her with him, and she gets to experience other Londons and adventures. And I loved it, and I give it 4 stars. And the last thing here I finished was Hollowpox by Jessica Townsend. This is the 3rd book in the Nevermore series, and this is super cute. I can't really tell you too much about it because it is the 3rd book in the series. But I will say that there's a disease called the Hollowpox that is affecting Wunimals, and these are animals that have wonder, and they're like, essentially they're like human, but you know, they can talk and they can work and things like that, but they're animals. And this Hollowpox is affecting them, and it's making them act like not the Wunimals that they are, but that the animals that they would be without the wonder, and they kind of go wild and are attacking people and things like that. That's really all I can tell you about this one. It was really, really good. It was kind of creepy on the things that represented, like, I felt that this represented a lot of things that are going on in our society. Like, there's definitely, like, even though she wrote this before COVID, the Hollowpox definitely made me think of COVID. Also, some of the things with the Wunimals made me think of the whole Black Lives Matter movement and how they were being treated. And then there's also a part in here that even made me think about the storming of the Capitol. And it was just like, I was talking to my buddy read group about this, and we're like, is Jessica Townsend like an oracle or something? Because it was starting to get a little creepy there, but so good. Really enjoyed it, and I give this 4 stars. So it is Monday, February 1st, and I've only completed 2 more books. So on, I think it was Monday the 25th, I completed A Gathering of Shadows by V.E. Schwab, and I really, really enjoyed this. I'm going to give this 4 stars. This is the sequel to A Darker Shade of Magic. So I can't tell you too much about this one because it is a sequel, but what I can tell you is that there is a tournament in here that all the different magicians from the neighboring kingdoms all come to compete, and Kel is not supposed to be competing because he's Antari, but he kind of him and his brother, they come up with a disguise so that he can compete. And Delilah Bard hears about this competition as well and makes her way back to London to compete, also in disguise, and this was a lot of fun. There is also a queer element in here that wasn't in the first book that I am so here for, and I'm really, really hoping to see more of this relationship in the next book. I'm really, really excited for that. I literally screamed when that part came out in here. I was just like, ah, oh my gosh, I loved it. Okay, so I give this 4 stars. And then yesterday I finished A Wind in the Door by Madeleine L'Engle, and this is also a sequel. It is the sequel to A Wrinkle in Time, and I'm gonna say I give this 2.5 stars. I was reading this like yesterday. I started at about page 86, and me and Cece over on Cece's Reading Journey, which will link her down below, we were doing live reading sprints for almost 8 hours last night, and I did finish this during that. And I can tell you, part of it I was enjoying, but the way this book is written, I don't know how it was supposed to be for middle grade, because it made me feel stupid, and I was constantly having to like look words up and look up meanings of things and how to pronounce things, and I had to make up pronunciations in my head for some things because I just couldn't process how to pronounce these words. And like one of them is, I was just calling him Prognosis, which I know that's not how you pronounce this, but it's Proginoskes. And he's this thing that's like, when he manifests or like materializes, he kind of looks like a bunch of dragons. It was weird. This was very fantastical, very absurd, very it made my head hurt trying to read it, because it was just like one thing's happening and then all of a sudden something else is happening, and it was like, what? And like, oh, there's multiple of this person and things like that. Where just a second ago there wasn't multiple of this person, but their multiples are talking. And there's also a lot of science in this. There was a part in here that gave me like Magic School Bus vibes, and that was pretty cool. But then towards like, I don't know, the last, I don't know, 50 pages, something like that, it got very, very religious, and I wasn't feeling it. So I ended up giving this 2.5 stars. I didn't hate it, but I didn't really like it either. So that is where I'm ending this month. That wasn't all I read in those reading sprints, but I didn't complete anything else. So this month, let me see if I can hold us all up. So this month, I read these 18 books here, plus the audiobook for Green Lights, which I started my month out on. And I think that's a total of 19 books if I'm not missing anything, which I can't recall if there were anything that I also completed, like any other audiobooks or anything. So I think I completed 19 books for the month, and not too shabby. Less than what I'm gonna have to try to complete in February. Which, wish me luck with that ridiculous TBR. If you haven't seen that TBR, I will link it up here, and I definitely recommend you going and checking that out. But yeah, it got a little ridiculous. So have you guys read any of these books? Did you like them? Did you not? Comment down below and let me know. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give me a big thumbs up. If you'd like to see more videos like this, click that subscribe button down below. And until next time, remember to always be completely you. Bye!